Alright, it should be streaming now.
Yep. So the first thing that we're gonna talk about is
Hang on a moment, just let me make sure it's working first.
yeah, it's live. It's live.
Okay.
We are live.
Streaming now. Yep, okay. So, what's the first thing we're going to talk about?
So we're gonna talk about what Ryan Reynolds did.
Yes, Ryan Reynolds announced Deadpool 3 and he did it so funny.
He did it so funny, and then he obviously had Hugh Chapman there and said, "Do you want to play Wolverine one last time?"
Sure,
Yeah,
Ryan.
sure, Ryan.
Yeah, sure, Ryan. Adam, have you seen that advert, that trailer?
No.
It's just Ryan Reynolds talking about how he did a lot of. It's just a load of bullshit based about how he did a load of soul searching about trying to play Deadpool 3 and he had nothing. But there was one idea, and Hugh Jackman walks past in the background eating an apple, and he says, "Hey Hugh, how'd you feel about playing Wolverine one last time?" And he just says, "Yeah, sure, Ryan."
And then Whitney Houston plays.
Yeah, it's not. Is it Whitney Houston?
Yeah. I will always love you. That song.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, got confused a moment there. And I cannot say. Ugh. But yeah, on top of so that's been announced. On top
They did a follow up where they were the caption about Morgan saying, "Yeah, we're not touching that." And then they start going on about, "Oh, we're going to tell you some details." And then music starts playing. But this is troll you.
Yeah, I've not seen that video yet, actually. You know what's funny? But on top of that, Andor had its 4th episode.
Oh, yeah. And episode 4. What do you think of it, Drake?
It's good. I like the AK blasters. Yeah, like Star Wars has always had a long history of stripping down real world weapons to turn them into blasters in Star Wars, and they took it to realistic levels. They tried to really nail home the whole war aspect with Rogue One when they made it. Blasters in Rogue One were made out of an AR-15 that the rebels use. Like the M4 or the M16. Yeah. They made blasters out of those. They take it a step further in this and make blasters out of what are obviously AKs. Kalashnikovs.
I like that he got injured and you see it all the way through the episode.
Oh yeah, like he gets shot in the shoulder in the last episode and it's still grieving him throughout the episode and he has to have his bandages changed like 3 times in the episode.
Well, we meet some rebels anyway.
This is before the rebellion's actually officially started though.
Yeah, well they are rebels.
It didn't officially become organised until 2 years before the Battle of Yavin.
And it's a small little squadron.
Yeah, ragtag group of rebels.
Against them.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I have a theory that the guy who runs the antiquities shop leads a double life. The rebel leader leads a double life as an antiquities dealer.
Yeah.
Who puts on the facade of being some slimy, smug dealer or whatever. Strikes a pose, gets back into character in his ship. You can tell he probably hates playing that role. He'd very much be out there fighting for the galaxy, and instead he has to put up a front as being some, upper class lout who makes money off the suffering of others.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do that.
Did you notice that he has Galen Marrick's Sith apprentice armor in his shop?
What is that? Star Wars?
Starkiller.
Starkiller. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Even though it's no longer canon, but even then, when it was canon, the his Sith apprentice armor that was part of the non-canon ending, the DLC where he becomes in the DLC to the game where he actually becomes a Sith Lord, and the events of the movies play out differently, and he wears that evil-looking armor. What?
So what game is this?
Star Wars: The Force Unleashed.
Oh.
So like Galen Marrick was Darth Vader's secret apprentice in the old timeline, and in the non-canon downloadable content for one of the for the bad ending, which wasn't canon to the story, Galen becomes an evil Sith Lord under Darth Sidious, and he wears this inhumanizing armor, this dehumanizing armor that covers his face and gives him long claws, kind of like what Darth Vader or Darth Revan wore. But in the new episode of Andor, it's on display. The armor's on display in the shop. I can hear myself.
You can hear yourself.
Very, very barely, just barely. I can hear my voice very faintly in the background because one of you is watching. Anyway, he also had several other things. He had a Sith and a Jedi holocron. And you're thinking that fuels my theory that he's a former Jedi in hiding, like because he had that kyber crystal. Where's he going to get a Sith and a Jedi holocron from? Those things are majorly fucking rare. I mean, the entire objective in the video game Fallen Order is to get a holocron. You go on a galaxy hopping adventure to find a holocron. Find a way to open that tomb on the planet Bogano.
That's why he said he wants it back because it means something to him.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, it means a lot to him, and I'm thinking he has to have been a Jedi, or at least associated with a Jedi, because no one just happens to have a kyber crystal.
He obviously saw the fall of the Jedi.
Well, he remembers it. It's been 15 years. It's been 14 years since the fall of the Jedi. Takes place 10 years, roughly 10 years after Fallen Order. 5 or 6 years after Kenobi. 3 years before the ending of Rebels. And was it? Yeah, 3. I think it's 3 years. And 5 years obviously before Rogue One and A New Hope. That's where it fits into the timeline.
The rebellion I thought started for. But people started getting pissed off about it. Obviously, she's getting watched all the time. What's the name? Mothma. What's the name, Jake? Mothma?
Mon Mothma, yeah.
Yeah, we saw her together.
But yeah, Rebels takes place around about the same time as Cassian Andor, about 5 years. Star Wars Rebels begins about in 5 BBY, ends in 0 BBY.
Yeah. We saw a lot of people like her at any side. A lot of them don't like her, do they? Like, even the rebels.
No. They don't really know where she stands, where her loyalties lie. At first.
Well, to be honest, they don't even know her, like, give Saint Andor there.
Hmm.
You don't know who that guy is. He's kept as a mystery, so if they get captured, they can't give anything away.
One of the main points about Andor is showing that even if you have the show Star Wars Rebels, which is about how the rebellion was started in a new timeline, it seems like Cassian's been rebelling against the Empire since before the rebellion started, kind of like Saw Gerrera and Cal Kestis. Like, you know, it's kind of trying to sound like this. Even if this show isn't about the rebellion, this is how the rebellion started to form. You know, it started to form, and this man was one of the very first members of the organized Rebel Alliance.
And now that place is under Empire's command now. They command that place, don't they?
What place? Oh, Premox.
Yeah, Previx is now under there.
He fucking warned him. The chief inspector warned him. He wanted to keep the crime rate low, and that idiot, that fucktard, went and screwed everything up.
And now the Empire are on there.
I just love how they get a dressing down from the Imperial officer, and the chief inspector just chips in like a kid who's getting scolded along with his mates. He's like, I didn't even do anything. It's like, you know, it's like three kids in a classroom being scolded by the teacher, but the one that didn't have anything to do with it gets dragged along with his friends. He's like, I didn't even do anything.
I didn't do anything.
And then the fucking sergeant puts his hand up and he's like, seriously. Puts his hand up to speak. And I was like, seriously.
He gets sent home and he gets stopped by his mum, the guy.
I think because she was just worried about him.
And it says, what the fuck are you gawking at?
What are you looking at? What was it? But yeah, I think something bad's going to happen, and Cassian's going to have to prove himself to those guys. And eventually, of course, he's going to have to tell them his real name. He's not Clem.
Yeah, Clem.
Clem's a hillbilly name. Look, we have one concurrent viewer, and I assume that to be you, Reese.
Probably.
We are so famous, so famous. I suppose. What?
Do you think the next episode's going to be the heist?
It might be a setup to the heist. It might be like you're getting ready into position. The heist might be the episode after the next one, I think. The actual heist.
Something bad's going to happen.
Something bad is going to happen. Something bad always happens.
So return.
Nothing ever goes according to plan.
Right, no. Could you pass it with me? What do you want? Chair off. Your chair's off. On. Test. One.
People are going to die, but...
Yeah, that young lad, the naive one, I bet he dies. You know, the one who's always talking about.
The one who believes it straight away.
The one who's chatting.
He don't even question it or anything.
Oh yeah, I can tell this guy's trustworthy. I like that they actually did shave it. They probably realised, you know, like Cassian looks a bit too old to, you know, Diego looks a little too old to believably play a 21-year-old with that beard. So they have him shave it off, and now he's still doesn't look young enough, but he looks younger than he did before.
Yeah, well, he looks a bit younger. Like miles better than he was in the first episode.
Looks younger than he was, yeah. Because you have a man in his early 40s trying to play a man in his early 20s.
Yep, and that leaving that brick behind, whatever it was was a bad idea.
Well, it's not much choice, but he didn't have much of a choice, did he?
Now that woman's like suspicious. But otherwise she's like, that we have jurisdiction that goes like, nah, you don't. Sorry.
I like how
Not yours.
I like how Cassian mentions being at the Battle of Mimban, which was last seen in live action in Solo Star Wars story. It's the battle that Han Solo's in when he meets Chewbacca. You know, all that mud.
Hmm.
Do you remember the movie?
Oh yeah. Well, Solo.
He joins the Empire to get away from the gangsters on the planet and the Imperial police.
Yeah, that was yeah.
And he gets sent to the Battle of Mimban, which is essentially a big muddy hellhole. And that's where he gets.
Who the expecting them to fighting though? Who are they fighting?
The Mimbams. I can't remember if they're called Mimbanese or just Mimban or whatever they're called. They're like a race
Fighting
of
the people that live there.
yeah, they're like a race of mole people. They live under the ground, and it's reminiscent to like the United States waging war in the Pacific against the Japanese during World War II. Because the Mimbanese, if you know a bit more about the Battle of Mimban, they wore grass and reeds over their helmets and their outfits to better hide in the mud. They would bury under the ground and wait to ambush. They would charge. It's like, the Japanese made use of things called spider holes, and what it was a trapdoor. It was a hole in the ground, trapdoor over it, covered in grass and mud and leaves to look like it was the ground. When someone get close enough, they'd pop out, chuck a grenade or fire a machine gun or whatever to ambush the enemy. The Mimbanese or whatever employed these same tactics against the Empire. It's like and on the Empire's part, it's a mixture of World War One trench warfare and American Pacific. The Americans campaigned in the Pacific during the Second World War.
We're into the Chewbacca and the cell from the
And when we hear another person speaking Shirayuk, or however you say it, for the first time, which is basically like, "Rrrr." And Chewbacca says something, and he goes, "Yeah, I speak a little bit." It was
that wasn't the worst film like in Star Wars.
It wasn't, but its low performance caused many people to blame it for Star Wars failure, and all Star Wars story projects were basically put on.
I don't think you can blame that film.
All spin-off movies were basically put on indefinite hold, and that's when they started to refocus on, because this was a year before The Mandalorian, and this was like, people started to focus more on their Disney Plus, because The Mandalorian proved that there could be a high demand for Star Wars media in a live-action format as a web show. So once The Mandalorian proved highly successful, they started pouring their resources into Star Wars television. Hence, within the span of just 3 years, we've got Mandalorian Season 1 and 2, The Book of Boba, we've got Obi-Wan Kenobi, and now we've got Andor, and very soon we're going to have some more stuff. And contrary to that, we haven't had a Star Wars spin-off movie since 2018.
Well, the reason is I blame The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, we haven't had a cinematic. We haven't had a cinematic Star Wars, a cinematic Star Wars release since 2019.
I know. Mad. Right. Hello?
What?
Oh, that just cut out for me a minute, but there we go. Yeah, Rise of Skywalker did kill Star Wars movies.
Actually, it wasn't. It didn't so much kill it as at that point it was beating a dead horse, because they had an attempt. They had a chance to bring it back. Use what The Last Jedi did to create some ambitious plot lines, but instead they just chucked them all aside. It's like, I remember when I said I think The Last Jedi is the best one of the sequels. I'll rephrase. It's my favourite one of the sequels because it did several ambitious things that you don't see in many.
Most of them were bullshit.
Most of it's bullshit, but it did several. Like for example, Rey being a nobody, and just she wasn't some chosen one or anything like that, like Luke Skywalker was, or the daughter of anyone important. She was just some randomer who got caught up in the whole situation, who just happened to be Force sensitive. But no, the Rise of Skywalker. Oh, you're his granddaughter.
You're his granddaughter. Oh,
where the fuck did that come from? What would have been the greatest subversion of expectations of all time? If Rey ended up becoming Sith and Kylo Ren ended up coming back to the light and having to fight and kill her.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
That would have been a great twist. If Rey slowly gave it to... Because
Kylo Ren was the good guy. That'd be actually...
Even if, what is it, like in The Last Jedi, Luke says to her, when she goes towards the darkness, he says, you didn't even turn away from it. So you expect then, oh, she's going to go to the dark side. Nope.
No, she doesn't.
And they killed off, everyone was like, oh, who's Supreme Leader Snoke? Before we could even find out who he properly was, they killed him off. So like, okay, so that's an ambitious move, pretty crap at the time, but you know what? Maybe they'll expand on it, it's kind of subverting our expectations. And then they'll Rise of Skywalker chuck that in the bin as well, like, nah, he was just a clone made by the Emperor as a proxy. Somehow, Palpatine returned.
Escaping Kylo Ren. But then in the next film, it's like, somehow he survived.
I just feel
like, what is this?
I feel so bad. I'll forever feel bad for Oscar Isaac having to be the one to deliver that god awful line. Because the man.
Is back alive.
The man is an absolutely banging actor, and he had to deliver that line. And I've said it last. I think I said it in the last stream. You can see he tried, even though the line was shit. He tried to make it sound serious and believable when he somehow Palpatine returned.
Palpatine's alive.
But the line is just too crap to be anywhere near serious. And he tried. He really did. At least Oscar Isaac can always say he was in a Star Wars film.
So he's been in X-Men franchise. He's been in Star Wars franchise.
Yeah, he played.
He's even in Marvel. He's even in Marvel.
Yeah, he's been in loads of things.
All really big franchises.
Yeah, I remember one of his most underrated. You remember the movie Suburbicon? He was in Suburbicon. He played the sleazy insurance investigator. It's like when the two main characters who were trying to commit insurance fraud after they murder his wife and her sister to collect on the insurance, and he comes along and says, sometimes when a claim is suspicious, it has this smell, like a little hanky panky. And I have a nose for it. It just doesn't smell right. But this particular case does not have that smell, that faint aroma. And she says, well, thank goodness for that. Nah, this one stinks. Yeah, this one I've been smelling since I got off the turnpike.
God knows it's crap.
Do you not remember Suburbicon?
I thought, what is Suburbicon?
It's the film set in the late 50s with Matt Damon.
I can't remember.
Matt Damon, Julianne Moore, that basically his wife gets murdered during a break-in gone wrong, and it turns out that it was pre-planned, with Matt Damon pre-planning his wife's murder along with her sister, his sister-in-law, who is shagging. And they plan to take the insurance money ditch his son at military school and run off to Aruba or something, a Dutch protectorate,
I
tropics.
don't remember.
But basically, Oscar Isaac plays an insurance investigator, and he immediately pegs the claim as being shifty. He's like, I can smell when a claim is suspicious. It has that faint aroma that something's off about it. But this particular case does not have that faint aroma. And she says, well, thank God for that. Nah, this case stinks. This case I've been smelling since I got off the turnpike. Do you sleep with Gardner, do you? I beg your pardon. Well, it's not really any of my business, but that kind of thing can come back to bite you in the future. If you killed her, I mean.
If you go back into Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, if you think about fucking Palpatine, he didn't even do anything in that film.
No, he didn't, except become...
He died the same way. Not nearly the same way.
The third time, Force Lightning gets his primary attack. 3 times that attack has backfired on him, and 3 times he never learns from his mistakes.
In Revenge of the Sith, he turns into a fucking old...
Turns into a prune. Turns into a shriveled... Yeah, becomes a shriveled prune.
And then his friend Darth Vader picks him up. Instead of stop shooting the light, shooting it.
Instead of trying to stop him from killing him, all he wants to do is cause him pain.
Yeah, and then he dies, and then he dies again.
Yeah.
You might have unlimited power, mate, but he kills you every time.
Somehow Palpatine returned, though I don't know how, because he's a fucking idiot. Even if he did manage to play the entire galaxy like a fiddle,
He survived and somehow built ships with Death Star lasers. I don't understand how you can do that.
Yeah, who are all those cunts sitting in the on the planet? In his all around him in the seats, the Sith, all those people in the robes in his personal little parliament. They just sit there. Are they supposed to be his followers, the Sith Eternal?
I guess we'll never know what they are. When the information came out after the film, Palpatine's son was actually Palpatine younger.
Yeah.
And you're like, why are you bringing the information? Why wasn't it in the movie? Why is it after?
I don't know. But anyway, Oscar Isaac, great actor, Suburbicon, alright movie. You should watch it again, mate.
I don't remember watching it, but I haven't watched many of his films.
It's set in the 50s. It's a period piece. It's pretty dark.
Yeah, Andor, we've got people on the planet to do heists. I can't remember any of the names. Was one of them called Val or something?
Yeah, the lead is called Val.
I just got some lies saying, oh yeah, this guy's meant to be... Yeah,
it's been planned. It's been planned for months. I didn't tell you because I didn't know he was going to make it. Fuck off.
That guy was fuming when he came.
What is this?
Yeah, what is this?
Well, he has the most to lose because he's an Imperial officer.
You think that girl might be his sister?
Which girl?
Oh, the one who was like starting his cut out.
Maybe.
I'm sure it might be season 2. We don't know. We don't even know what happens to her. You might never find her. We don't know that.
Huh?
But, yeah. What did they say the stealing credits? But I think there's more to that. I think they're stealing more than whatever the people said.
Weapons.
I think they're stealing something valuable to the Empire. Whatever they do is going to bring the Empire on them. Whatever happens, the Empire is going to be on their fucking tail.
Like flies on shit.
It's going to be that woman who's got denied.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah. Let's announce to the people who aren't here, Reese, that I'll be streaming some games for this little channel.
You'll be streaming.
Nice. What are you streaming?
We got 2 concurrent views. Oh, we just left. Never mind. Well, I don't know. First, I might stream Hitman just to try it out first, and then maybe the Modern Warfare 2 campaign.
Cool.
And the Callisto Protocol. We've already planned that. Reese wants me to stream that, and he wants me to wants my voice to be heard, so every time I shit my pants, you'll hear it. Suppose
that'd be a fun game to play, Callisto.
Yeah, Callisto Protocol.
And that's in December, isn't it?
Yeah, the 2nd. Still don't know what the Callisto Protocol is. I mean, you know the planet. The planet is Callisto. Callisto is a real planet. Oh, it's not planet. It's a moon. It's Jupiter's moon. But what is the titular protocol? You know, what is the protocol that's in effect? You know, is it some kind of containment protocol? Is it some kind of quarantine or cleanup protocol? Guess we'll find out. It's set on a prison, so I only assume it has something to do with killing the prisoners.
What is the mutation? Did virus take it up or something?
According to Glenn Schofield, who is the director, he is brilliant, by the way. Glenn Schofield is one of my favourites. It's been buried beneath the ice for millennia, and the old colony that was there, the mining colony, dug it up and it wiped them out, and the government and the United Jupiter Company covered it up. Decades later, Black Iron Prison Facility, a penal colony, was established on the moon for prisoners and unwanted dissidents of the government to be sent there. And during the events of the game, Jacob Lee, the protagonist, who is played by Josh Duhamel, I think that's how you say his name, he actually crashes his transport ship there and gets detained and put in the prison as a prisoner. And then a new outbreak of the mutation occurs, and the prison descends into chaos, and Jacob has to try and find his way off the planet alive. Apparently the whole incident is being engineered by the warden, who is a real piece of shit. Now the game was originally supposed to be in the PUBG universe, but when it's like as Glenn Schofield said, it was when it started to evolve into its own thing. It started evolving further and further away from PUBG into its own thing. To Ginger Ninja. It evolved away from Battlegrounds into its own thing until eventually they just decided to scrap the whole idea of it being in the future of the PUBG universe. However, this was at the point where they'd already programmed several references in to PUBG, and they said rather than cut those, they'll keep them in as little Easter eggs. So, you know, if there's anything that references PUBG in there, you'll be like, oh, look, that references PUBG. You know, that was when, you know, the game was part of PUBG. It's like, you know, if, say, like maybe a map of Erangel or something in a filing cabinet, I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, you might see a pan, like, oh, there's the pan.
Like, the PUBG universe that is, they were working to, they're still working on the prologue to Battlegrounds, but as of now, Callisto Protocol is no longer in the PUBG universe.
Who's that?
What'd you say, Rick? Adam?
What's in the PUBG universe?
The Callisto Protocol started out in the PUBG universe, but as it evolved into its own thing, they decided not to put it in the PUBG universe.
Gotcha.
But anything that related to PUBG that was already in the game, they're going to leave it there as an Easter egg for people to find.
Nice.
Now, I have mixed emotions about that. On the one hand, I was quite happy that, you know, gaming was getting a new shared universe, because you don't see many shared universes in gaming these days.
I don't understand how you can do it when it's in space.
Well, it's the future, but, like, you know, I mean, like, you can do it that far in the future. The game is set in 2320, and that far in the future of any universe, you can do what you want. See, like, we don't know a whole lot about the PUBG universe, but they, like, other than the fact that it's the world outside, despite the fact what we used to believe, it's fine. But the PUBG games are an illegal sort of like fight to the death being watched by a bunch of sadistic billionaires.
What when you win the match to say win a level, it says chicken dinner, win chicken dinner.
Well, what that means is in the law apparently when you get when you win, you get taken out of the game, and you're given a great big feast of chicken, and wine and whatever you like. You're treated like a royalty basically. You're allowed to enjoy yourself for several days, and then you're fucked off. But in order to enjoy that, you first have to survive. But anyway, Callisto no longer in that universe, but I would have liked to see how that could have connected to PUBG, if at all. But yeah, it is more like, as it was always intended, it's a spiritual successor to Dead Space, always has been. Right down to the fact that the interface is diegetic, you know. The lights on his back are his health bar, the ammo count is on his gun. And I will be streaming that when it comes out in December. But I will be by myself.
If it's screaming, scared, and jumping,
Well,
shit myself.
like Glenn Schofield, like if you watch questions with Glenn Schofield, like he says, like which would you consider the scarier game, Dead Space or the Callisto Protocol? Without missing a beat, he went Callisto, definitely Callisto. He says it's a scary.
A monster.
He says like Dead Space. I used to consider Dead Space my magnum opus, but now I think it's this game. So like Glenn Schofield, he did Dead Space, then he joined Activision and created Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, Call of Duty World War 2. And you know how much I fucking love Call of Duty World War 2?
Yeah.
Not just that, and he worked with Josh Duhamel on COD World War II's campaign because he plays in that. And when they were trying to think of who to play the protagonist, Jacob Lee and Callisto, we thought, you know what? Why don't we call Josh back? You know. So yeah, he's in the game. He's the playable character. And what's interesting is the character's name, Jacob. In the Bible, Jacob was the son of Isaac Clarke, from Dead Space. Pretty. He says like someone actually asked him. They said, "Is Jacob's name a reference to how Jacob was the son of Isaac in the Bible?" And he said, "Yes, it is. Very good, right there. Very good spot. Yeah, we chose Jacob's name based on the fact that Jacob was the son of Isaac in the Bible, Isaac Clarke."
Is it motherfucking Clarke? Yep. And Modern Warfare's out soon. It's November, is it?
October.
October.
The campaign comes out in October the 21st. I pre-ordered it, so I'll get to play it a week early. Before the multiplayer comes out. October 28th is when the multiplayer comes out. However, I've also pre-ordered the Resident Evil Village DLC, Shadows of Rose, which has you play as Ethan's daughter.
And apparently that's the end of the Windows family. We won't see him ever again.
Well, it takes place 16 years after the events of Village. Rose is 16 years old. Yeah, Rose is a 16-year-old.
How long is fucking Chris gonna live for?
He's in his 40s when Village takes place, so 16 years, he'll be in his 60s.
He's still fucking gonna be that jacked up and stuff.
He probably, well, I'm guessing at that point, he probably won't be a field agent, but maybe he'll be, you know, like a sort of a desk operative, you know, coordinating units in the field. That's what I think, anyway. But
yeah, umbrella when he turned it good brother.
But yeah, you play as Rose, 16-year-old Rose, who was a baby in Resident Evil Village. And she has, and her ordeal with Megamycete and Miranda has granted her special powers. So like, she walks up to She walks up in the trailer. You see her walk up to some, like the mold, and she just flexes her hand, and the mold immediately just rots away and turns into ash. Useful power to have.
I wonder where it's going to go in the future Resident Evil, because you've got the Winter's family now.
They'll probably have a game set between Resident Evil 8 and Resident Evil Shadows of Rose. Resident Evil 9.
I love the game who plays Spencer, like the guy who made this.
Oh yeah, Oswald E. Spencer.
Players in when he's younger and stuff, see what he goes through.
So yeah, what I'll probably do is I'll probably try and play Shadows of Rose on the 28th, but that's where the multiplayer comes out, so I'll also be dedicating some time to that as well.
The multiplayer. So let's count this game. Callisto Protocol is what you're gonna stream.
I might stream Modern Warfare 2's campaign, but the thing is, I'm going to be playing. Considering the fact it might be short, I'm going to be playing that on Veteran to make it last as long as I can.
Yeah, so that's 2 games. What else? Obviously, Dead Space remakes up next year.
Yeah, 27th of January. Twinkle,
I actually don't know much about the first one. I know.
You never played the first one?
No.
Yeah, but I remember reading the magazine.
I remember in school when one of them was talking about it. I'm not gonna mention his name, but you know what he is, Jake.
I think so.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Not Luke. It was the other one, wasn't it?
I remember him talking about it.
It was the Irishman.
Just talking about Dead Space 2.
Oh yeah, he did talk about Dead Space, but the one.
I heard that and I bought that game. I was like, oh, this game is scary as fuck.
You didn't finish it, did you?
I cleared it eventually, but it took me years to clear it.
I don't think.
I was like,
I saw someone.
I like horror, but I can't play horror games that long without fucking shitting myself.
No.
I get too scared and nervous. I'm like, nah.
I think there was someone in our class who never finished the game because he was too scared of it. Thing is, though, the first game is way more scary than the second game. The first game, it's implied. Not only is it implied that Isaac's losing his mind slowly because of the influence of the marker, but it's implied that there's just something wrong with the ship anyway. Because there's a part where you're on the bridge and you go up to a level and the door opens and there's a guy hunched over looking at you and he whispers, "Make us whole again," and just walks off to the side away from the door. When you go after him, he's gone.
I wonder who that was.
You know, he's called the bridge. It's known by people as the bridge ghost. There's like several survivors you see throughout the game.
You know the third game where you go in that room and you hit the body, and then you go out the room and go back in.
Oh yeah, that was in Dead Space 3. Yeah,
that's terrifying.
That was genuinely freaky. It's probably just a game, correcting its assets when you leave the room. But Adam, do you remember in Dead Space 3? Adam, do you remember in Dead Space 3 you had that man who was trapped at the top of the conning tower on the spaceship? You had to make... In Dead Space 3, there's a man who's trapped at the top of the conning tower, and he lays several traps for you and recordings on your way up there. It was an optional mission. Do you remember it? And when you get up there, there's like a big window, and he's sat in the chair and he's shot himself, and he's been dead for hundreds of years. You don't remember?
Yeah, I think I know what we're talking about now.
Yeah. Well, me and Reese found that when we played it, that if you desecrate his corpse, cut the limbs off, smash him up. If you leave the room and come back, he'll be all back together again, sitting in the chair. Now, obviously, that's probably that's probably just the game correcting itself, you know. But obviously, the implications that it's not. It's a lot more scary, you know, to think that, you know, it's the corpse is haunted and the room is haunted.
Yeah.
We're just like, holy shit, this is creepy. He keeps going back.
Who is this ginger ninja? Is this Hughie's?
I don't know who it is.
Funny. Anyway, yeah, the first Dead Space.
That's just a person watching. What are you on about?
I watched this. I read this article way back in 2008 before Dead Space 1 came out, and it's it's set in the future and it follows the USG Ishimura. In a mining vessel, USG Ishimura has lost all contact with Earth. You know, all contact has been lost, and the idiots at Mission Control have obviously never seen either Alien or Event Horizon. Instead, they assume it's simply a communications malfunction, so they send ship systems engineer Isaac Clarke. It's just the way that the article lampshades it, you know, like, all contact has been lost, and the idiots at Mission Control have obviously never seen Alien or Event Horizon.
Yeah, like, Event Horizon, the ship gets took over by chaos the other side.
Some kind of, yeah, evil entity. But yeah, Dead Space does have that kind of, the ship has that kind of gothic look to it, especially the underbelly. Because, yeah, if you remember the basic story of the first game, Reese, in case you never actually found out, is that mining colony Aegis 7, the Concordance Extraction Corporation, which is the company Isaac works for, is conducting an illegal mining operation on the planet Aegis 7. And they uncover a marker. It's off limits, but for reasons unknown. The government won't tell anyone, and it turns out there's a red marker there. And they dig it up, and it starts sending people insane. And when the USG Ishimura arrives to transport it back to Earth, that's when the necromorphs start popping up and killing people on the colony. And it eventually spreads to the Ishimura, whereby when people fled the colony, and they managed to get a distress signal out before all contact was lost, and that's when the team arrives, and Isaac volunteers for the mission personally because his girlfriend Nicole works on the ship, and he hasn't seen her in a few months.
He revived himself in the second game. He keeps seeing them, but it's actually him trying to kill himself.
Yeah, he has visions because he's going crazy. He's got a unique form of dementia. Did you ever find out the twist at the end of the first game?
I'm gonna wait until the remake comes out. I don't know when.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking for, considering Isaac is actually voiced this time. There's one moment in the story where, because he was silent in the first game, there's one moment where he shows emotion. He puts his head in his hand, and you never actually see his face. It's upon a horrible revelation he has, and he puts his head in his hand and shakes his head in sorrow. Can't wait to see that game and that scene where he's actually got a voice, you know, and be like, "No, no, please God, no," or something like that. Gunnar Wright's coming back to voice him from Dead Space 2 and 3.
All of them plays great. So,
Yeah, it wasn't the best game in the series, but it's up there with it's probably one of the best co-op shooters I've ever played. A lot of fun.
well, it's really exciting to.
Whew.
But it's better when you play with people, when you play co-op games.
Yeah.
Dead Space 2 actually had a multiplayer mode.
Yeah, but I think the story's better when you play a game together with people. Not used to be like what used to be back in the day, but like couch when you feel like everyone in the same room playing the game.
Yeah.
I remember.
Playing Halo.
I read another article about Dead Space 2, the multiplayer. It says it's the middle of the night. You're in a dark room alone, clutching the controller in your hands as you stare at the screen. You move slowly through the environment with your gun ready. Basically like you feel the unquenchable dread, the unstoppable dread or whatever of being alone. The horror of being alone in the dark with something after you. But you're not alone because there's someone else there with you. Through the microphone, a voice is talking to you, keeping you company. Basically like someone in an Xbox party or whatever talking to his friend. You are playing Dead Space multiplayer together. It's still scary, but you've got a friend with you to make it less scary.
You ever played like the Condemned games? They're good.
Yeah, Condemned. The first Condemned really threw me because when I started playing it, I kept pressing reload, but the reload button doesn't. In other games, you're pressing the X, doesn't reload. Instead, he takes out his magazine to check how many bullets he has, and then he puts it back in. And back when I first played that guy, I kept pressing the button, and he kept taking the mag out, putting it back in. I thought he was reloading. I was wondering why. Why the fuck am I not are my bullets not going back up? Why am I not reloading? No. It took me a while to realise. He's not reloading. He's taking the mag out and looking at it.
That game's fucking creepy, that.
Yeah, it's a more generally realistic horror game because there's not really any monsters, is there? It's just crazy people.
That is crazy people, yeah.
And
You've got like survive and shit.
there is one genuinely scary moment in the game where
When you look for keyhole and eyes there.
no, it's not just that, but it's like when you take a picture of that corpse in the locker and all of a sudden it comes to life. There's a guy in the locker. If you take a picture of the corpse, it springs at you like, "Argh!" Oh, something. Oh, I think it's just on the camera.
They never cleared them both, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah, good games those.
Yeah, but I like all like. Remember that game Thief that came out on Xbox One?
Oh, Thief, yeah. That was a
freaked me out.
that was a reboot. Oh, the dummies. You mean the
Yeah.
dummies that move?
Yeah, but there's one where you're like looking for a keyhole, and then a figure appears right in front of it. Like, it's a jump scare, but you just shit yourself.
I've just sent
It
you
wasn't
some.
that good of a game, but it was alright.
It was a reboot of an older series.
Yeah.
I've just sent you some screenshots of the Dead Space remake. You got Isaac shooting a necromorph. Got Isaac looking at the tram repair station, and you got Isaac in the gravity centrifuge room floating around, which is interesting because in this picture, look at the last picture, right, which I've just sent you. You see how he's flying around with his jetpack boots.
Yep.
In the first game, you can't do that. In the original game, you have to jump from surface to surface. Those flying mechanics didn't come into the game series until the second game, Dead Space 2.
Yeah, with the boots.
Yeah, in the first game, all you could do was just look at a surface. You had to hold the left trigger, and you look at a surface, and you press the button to jump, and he jumps through the air, and he lands on another surface. But what enhanced the horror on that aspect was once you jumped, no matter what got in you, you couldn't stop. You couldn't. Yeah, you couldn't stop. Once you were going, in that direction. So God forbid if something got in your way, like an electrical discharge or a big massive explosion or a fire or whatever, because if you couldn't stop yourself at that point, you were going. Which was funny because you could jump into space if you wanted, and the game would let you. You could just jump into space, and he would fly. He would fly out, and then eventually he would just be like, just drop dead in space and float away.
That sounds like an old kill death. Old death. So.
Well, that's the thing. Like Isaac's death sounds, there was never an actual voice actor for Isaac in the first game, so most of the sounds he makes are just stock. So like but they've got a filter over them, so it sounds like they're coming through a helmet.
Sounds like fucking Duke Nukem the old game. Oh,
It's like one kill where he gets pulled in half as his body's getting stretched. You can hear it's just a stock sound effect. He's going, oh, ah! He gets pulled in two. But yeah, instead they change. I'm interested to see how that changes the game, the jetpack boots, because that mechanic's gone. Several moments that require that, precise timing are going to be changed. Like, there's a part where you have to put a beacon on a meteorite and shoot it into space. But there's these two semicircle like scanners that keep going around the meteor. And if you land on the meteor at the wrong time and that thing's moving, it's going to splatter you in two. So that's going to have to be changed up. Also, the gravity centrifuge that spins around, once it starts spinning around, you have to make your way back to the exit on foot because the gravity has been returned to the room. But with the jetpack boots, that's not going to be a problem because Isaac's just going to start flying. Although that might be when
it's going to be a bit different.
It's like you have to get back to the exit. It's like while there's no oxygen, but you have to avoid the gravity centrifuge that's spinning around so it doesn't splatter you. With the jetpack boots, you're just going to be able to completely bypass that. So we're gonna have to see how they change that.
Anyway, that's the games what we're gonna be playing in the future.
I'll probably.
There's one thing that I watched that I really thought was amazing.
What's that?
Nope.
Oh, Nope. Yeah, let's quickly talk about Nope.
Jordan Peele's latest horror movie. A very different UFO take.
Yeah, let's not talk about it. Yeah, let's not talk about it too much for the sake of Adam.
I don't want to spoil it for Adam, but Adam, yeah. We watched Oz and we didn't like that, did we? But this one
was pretty confusing.
This one, it's not confusing, it's straightforward, really.
It's just pretty gruesome, isn't it, Reese?
It's horrifying. I've not seen like a UFO film more scary than this one in a long time.
I still think Get Out's his best film, but yeah, Nope was definitely close to it. But you think Nope's his best film, don't you?
Yeah, I think it's better than Get Out. It would be Nope, Get Out, Oz. That's what I think. That's my list. Like, top to bottom, but the top film would be Nope. Oz was alright, it was just a fucking confusing film. But yeah, it's a really unique horror film that I've not seen in a long time. I was actually impressed. Honestly, when we're talking about horror, this year we've got Hellraiser, the new one, brought out on the 7th of October, I think. Season 2, Tricky Start. I can't wait for that show. Season 1 was really good. Yeah, I can't believe how different every film put in in those films. Like, how impressive it can actually get because you've got obviously the first one's so scary because you don't have the move of that film until near the end.
Yeah.
You don't
and she realizes the batteries were never actually put inside the doll.
Fucking hard.
That's generally probably one of the most effective methods of horror. That's
because she just checked because his batteries fell out.
Well, it's because it's like like the doll has been talking. It's pre-programmed phrases throughout the movie, and then she realizes eventually that the batteries are never put in. And she opens them up and checks. When she checks the batteries aren't actually inside, his head spins down like, "Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?"
You fucking hell!
Talk to me, damn you, or I'll throw you in the fire. You filthy bitch, you dirty whore. You teach you to fuck with me. That's when it kind of stops being scary and gets a bit narmy because he just comes to life and starts throwing obscenities at her.
Yeah.
Instead of being instead of being some creepy doll, he just turns into some doll with a big angry man's voice. Yeah, dirty bitch.
Yeah, Brad Dolphin, what was his name? He's so good as Tricky. But obviously the worst one is it Bride of Tricky or Seed of Tricky?
Probably
One of
Seed.
them. I think it's Seed, the one with the kid. That's the worst film because I watched it recently. Last year, I think, and I was like, "Dad, it's fucking. I can't stand this film. Can't wait till it's freaking over." But it's just crazy how much they go through. Like in the other one, they have a doll fucking set. There's a sex scene with dolls. Like,
Yeah, the woman, fucking Red Man.
She came on to
yeah.
me. All right.
Yeah, that's hilarious when they have fucking dolls on his set. Midnight for Barbie gun. That trailer is actually scary.
Oh yeah, that looked pretty freaky. That did.
Yeah,
I'm also looking forward to. Just before we got the last, I'll spend the last like few minutes telling you about All Quiet on the Western Front. That comes out in early next month, and I am super looking forward to it.
What's it about?
It's about 16-year-old Paul Baumer who lies about his age to join the German army during the onset of the First World War. Well, not the onset, it's 2 years in, 1916, he joins the army. He serves it to 1918. And it's about, him and his mates, when they graduate from school, they decide to all lie about their ages and join the army, thinking it'll be some grand adventure. And they're quickly treated to the harsh realities of war. Especially in the war to end all wars.
The water all. Yeah, well, it wasn't.
Well, that's the thing, like the war to end all wars.
Yeah, that was a propaganda in the war.
Well, it's just because they'd never seen anything like it at the time. It was war on a global scale. Nothing like that had ever been seen before. Over 30 countries, millions of soldiers and civilians involved in it. All across the world, the Middle East, the Alps, the Western Front, Russia. It was everywhere, and that's why it was called the war to end all wars, because to people at the time, you couldn't get any worse than that. There would be no war to top it. Any war after it won't come close, and of course that was wrong. But they thought, after this war's over, people have suffered so much they aren't going to want to fight anymore. So basically, that's what the war to end all wars is all about. But it did change the world forever. Empires became a pretty outdated concept pretty quick, and cavalry charges. British kept trying cavalry charges, and they were very quickly cut down by the power of the Maxim machine gun.
Yeah, they just kept sending people. Just got knocked out.
Anyway,
yeah.
I'll end this stream here, and if you want, we'll watch that trailer for Western Front. Okay, that's that done for this week, I guess. Well, goodbye to everyone who didn't watch.
I think we need to stream manga next time.
Well, it's like we need to actually have something for people to look at. Like most people that talk podcasts or do streams, they have something in the background. Like when I was playing zombies the other day, we were chatting for hours, and I was just playing zombies. Got to round 40, we were chatting, talking about casual shit. It was natural to us. If we did that while we were streaming, people would probably watch, or at least show mild interest. Because it's something to watch while we talk about nonsense.
Yeah, I'll do it.
You know what I mean, Reese. We just talk about we put plans for what we're going to talk about. We just end up talking about whatever the fuck we want to.
No, but that's what most podcasts do. They put a topic and they talk whatever they want.
Yeah, but nowhere in the picture does it show the Callisto Protocol, and we spent more time talking about that than fucking Cassian Andor. Right then. Goodbye to everyone who may watch this. Say bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And